Goodbye, Sixers basketball season. It was fun while it lasted, but again, excruciatingly painful, as it seems to always be.
Terrible.
Welcome in to the City Pigeons Podcast. I am Jesse Rendell, here with Roger Rock Matthews and Mike Meech.
Good evening. What's happening, folks?
Guys, what's the vibe? How we feeling?
About the Sixers?
Yeah.
I think let's see what Mike's got to say first.
Listen, I'm totally numb at this point. It doesn't even matter. Once Embiid's face got broken and he missed the first two games, I had no hope. None.
How you feel about them in general, though?
I think they're going to have to re-sign Harden. They have no other choice. They're going to have to get rid of a couple guys. Danny Green won't be back. They're going to have to
listen, before you get too deep in your Daryl Morey, Elton Brand, program, let me say this. We have to react. We have to pay, I don't want to say homage because there's nothing to pay homage to in what they did. But, everybody's feeling a certain way about what happened. And I think we got to give, our own opinions of that. Because I got to say, for me personally, last year when they lost in Game 7, I just was devastated, man. I was just like, this is the same shit that always happens, and I can't deal with it. And this year, I just didn't have that same feeling. I felt like I could see that coming. And, we talked about it when the Sixers got Harden. I remember you guys were trying to convince me there's no way it could go wrong. And, some of these analysts were talking about how, Harden was washed and, Kyrie was smoking him in one-on-one and so on and so forth. And I was like, it would be so Philadelphia.
I think that Kyrie report was a ball sack sports report. I swear to God. I'm not even lying. That wasn't even a real.
And
I might have put that out there, actually.
Ball sack sports isn't legit. Listen, I have no idea how to vet the authenticity of reports. I just want to put that out there.
If it's a quote from Ball Sack Sports, that's one good sign that it's not authentic.
So you're saying I should pay attention where the information comes from.
Yeah.
Noted.
So you felt worse about it last year than this year?
I felt awful. And here's why I think that's the case. Because last year, we had Simmons and Embiid and the young nucleus, and we fought our way to the 1 seed, and it just seemed like we could actually do it. And, by the way, everything broke our way, right?
True.
The Nets lost. We were playing Atlanta. It was like, dude, This is it. We're all set up for this.
We got beat by Kevin Huerter at home in Game 7 last year. That's like the lowest possible point a franchise could be at. This year was different. I mean, listen, once Siakam broke his orbital bone, I mean, what did you really expect? The last time he did that, he was out 3 weeks. And he came back, and you could tell he wasn't himself. He hated wearing the mask. This time he came back after 5 days. I mean,
with that concussion,
too.
Yeah.
And people were coming down on him. But
to me, it goes back even further, right? Because, yes, I agree. Once that happened, it was like, all right, this probably isn't going to go down. But to me, it was you saw this team play terribly towards the end of the season. At that point, I was just like, oh my God, this Harden thing just isn't gonna happen. It's not gonna work.
So you were going into the playoffs.
I was going to the playoffs saying they're not a contender. Like these other teams were looking.
Let me ask you: you think they're not a contender because of Harden, or because the rest of their team isn't as good?
Well, it's a combination of the two.
Because you look,
here's
my whole thing about the Sixers this season. Even if they would have beat the Heat, they're going to get their ass kicked by the Celtics. Like they're going to get, and especially with Danny Green hurt, they would get swept. Like they would get killed.
Well,
that just goes to show they're not good enough.
Well,
so they have to do something. And this year, I've been reading a few things where there's a way they can get a max contract available. And
well, before we get there, I still want to keep it focused on what happened and how we're feeling about it. And to me, one of the things down the stretch, in combination with them looking awful, with Harden, kind of leading, running the point, was the way other teams were playing. Because you saw these teams coming together, these teams that were deep. You look at the Bucks doing what they did without Middleton, the Celtics coming together, Miami, obviously having a lot of guys that could contribute. It just seemed like the writing was on the wall that, this wasn't going to happen this year. And that's why, to me, I wasn't as destroyed as I would normally be.
I guess
that and the Embiid injury had me like, you know what, this is.
I guess I'm looking at it differently than you guys. See, I thought that the East was just way more open this year. I felt like teams weren't as good. Oh, excuse me. I felt like teams weren't as good. I felt like the Sixers were just as good as any other team in the East, and I was going in with high hopes. I was like, yeah, Harden hasn't been playing great as of recent, but, you know, it's the playoffs. Maybe he's holding back a little bit. Maybe he's a little bit injured. He gets a little bit of rest maybe. I was more devastated this year.
But that changes after Siakam's elbow hits Embiid. I mean,
true.
It has to.
No, yeah. Oh, it definitely did. But then when they come back and win 2 in a row at home and they look like they can beat the world, I'm like, I'm right back in it. You know what I mean? Then those 2 games after that were just
I didn't.
heartbreaking.
I just thought that the Heat were too deep, and I didn't think
But you came
we
into
had
the playoffs feeling
I
like
did.
shit about the Sixers. See,
I did. Did the Toronto series make you think they were like going to kick some ass?
But you said you came into the playoffs like
and the Toronto series convinced me of that. You know, even the games they won in that series, for the most part, weren't convincing wins. So, look, I just think, in my opinion, that it just wasn't meant to be, and I didn't get myself all geeked up the way I normally would. You know, any playoff run, you're excited, you're in, but I just had this feeling that it wasn't going to work out. And last year, I thought we were building something. You know, I thought this was the process kind of coming to fruition, and our young nucleus was going to be something, and then it all fell apart. And what Ben Simmons did in that series, you know, created such ramifications for like what the team was going to be.
Then you got Harden.
Here's one positive you could take out of this season is because of what happened with Ben Simmons and him refusing to play. I don't think Doc Rivers, if Ben Simmons was still on the team and he was our starting point guard, Tyrese Maxey would have been probably the 3rd point guard behind Shake Milton, getting 12 minutes a game, not developing at all, because that's how Doc Rivers treats these guys.
Yeah,
the only reason Tyrese Maxey developed at the rate he did is because Doc Rivers was forced into it. He was forced to play him because what else are you going to do? Where's your other point guard? I mean, you have no other option, and he lucked out.
Yeah. So wait, real quick. How do you feel about the Sixers just like going forward? Like you were destroyed 2 years ago.
I honestly
don't really care about them.
I don't feel great because there's obviously a lot of work that's got to be done, right? They didn't have any depth. They got a lot of big contracts, so there's a lot of work that has to be done. You know, we'll see what Morey and Brand are going to do with that, but that's a good transition, talking about Maxey and, you know, him having such a great year. For maybe it's just kind of luck that Simmons wasn't there and he got to play the way he did, and we see what he can be. But it's interesting to me, you know, throughout this entire roller coaster ride of the Sixers season, how different characters in this kind of play that plays out fare differently. And so I want to get into an exercise that I call Sixers Sphere Relationship Status Update.
Well, what?
Sixers Sphere Relationship Status Update.
All right. I'm not
going to
learn
that I like really long titles for things that I make up, and you're just going to have to go with it.
Sixers Sphere Relationship Status Update.
You got it. And the idea here is that we're going to look at a bunch of different players, just characters that are in the Sixers realm, and see how they fared throughout the course of what was, you know, an up and down season and then a disappointing playoff run. And so as we do, I think it's always fun to start with the people who it really didn't go that well for. And I think one guy who everything looked great for, and then it just kind of went south fast, and I hate to say this because I think he's a really great guy and I love him, is Matisse Thybulle. You know, if you go back to the Harden trade, at that time, you know, all the reports were this guy couldn't be included in the deal. And I remember when they got Harden, I said, we got him without giving up Thybulle. You know, and he was this defensive specialist. And we talked about it before, like in our own conversations, about how I was kind of like, hey, he's kind of like, his game is a little Simmons-esque, and it just flies under the radar.
Everybody loves
By
Thybulle
Simmons-esque,
for some
you mean
reason.
he plays good defense, but has no idea how to score the basketball.
Exactly.
That's cool, and it's cool in the regular season. That's why. Now, this might sound weird, but when Ben Simmons comes back and plays basketball, he's going to be an all-star caliber, maybe all-NBA type player in the regular season. He's that good in transition, with his defense. But when it comes down to playoff basketball, it's a different animal. You get in half-court games where if you're a good perimeter defender, you get switched on and you get exposed. Look at Did you see what Doncic and Dinwiddie did to the Suns in Game 7? They took turns picking guys out on the defense who they just wanted to abuse.
Yeah.
And then the Suns had no response for it.
I think it's not fair to compare Thibault to Ben Simmons. I feel like Ben Simmons is a better player overall.
Ben Simmons is a number 1 overall pick.
Yeah.
Thibault is a late first-round pick who makes no money.
Yeah.
It's good to have him on the roster, but look, here's what's wrong with Thibault. I was hoping he would turn into like I'm dating myself as an NBA fan here, but like a Raja Bell, Bruce Bowen type player.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where they were defensive specialists.
Yeah.
But if you left them wide open for 3, they were going to bang it down.
But like you said, yesterday's game, the Suns and Mavs, Dinwiddie and Luka just picking out who they want to like. You can isolate that.
But you could almost like Thibault's defense in the playoffs is weird. He bites on the pump fake so much. In Game 7 last year, he had one of the worst fouls late in the game. I mean, he's
like a good team will figure out a way to get like the best defender off of the offense.
Well,
you know what I'm saying? Like,
but in today's
switch.
game,
you know what I mean?
You can't afford to have a guy who can't score.
Exactly. Yeah.
He could play the best defense out of anybody who's ever played in the NBA. If he can't score, why even?
But I'm talking a bit more about the way we as fans and the Sixers ecosystem feel about this guy. I was driving through.
Everybody's down on that.
Yeah,
I was driving
just because
through
of his vax thing.
His
like
vax
people want him to take his mural down in front of garage.
I was just gonna say, I was driving through Fishtown the other day, and I saw the mural, and he's a good dude. Like
that mural might be defamed
listen,
by
listen.
now.
Well, that's what I was thinking. I was driving by, and I was like, geez, I hope nobody
draws a penis on his
or
face,
put like a
something
needle
that.
in his arm or something. I was like, oh God, I couldn't see. I wasn't super close to it, but it looked like it was okay. But I was worried for him. I love the videos back. He's a cool guy. He's really artistic, and I like him. He looks like a nice guy. Apparently, he works hard. So I don't know what's going to happen with
every
him.
Every NBA player works hard. That's how they got there.
Well, apparently Ben Simmons, I don't know.
Well, he just doesn't care, but at one point he worked hard.
Right. So, Thibault, I think we'll have to see what happens with the guy. I wish him the best. He
needs to
guy.
work on his offense.
I like to root
bottom
for
line.
him. Obviously, he needs to work on his offense. So we'll see if he is going to post any clips from the summer of him
He's a
draining
lost
threes.
cause. I'd trade him for a protected second round pick. See you, Matisse.
Oof.
So long, buddy.
Man. Well, apparently I build a stronger bond with him. Well, what's interesting to me, too, is that, like, you see different, like I said, characters in our ecosystem. I like to look at, like, all the different stuff that's going on. And I saw this year a particular individual started to get a little bit of, criticism, and it was the sixth man. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the sixth man.
Aaron McKee?
Not Aaron McKee.
Aaron McKee was the shit.
No. The sixth man on the court. Do you know the sixth man?
Yeah, the old white-haired guy.
The fan.
The fan?
The
That
guy
guy?
who wears
Yeah.
the thing.
Yeah,
and he
yeah.
does the towel. I don't know if you saw the clip where
That guy's always been kind of like an annoyance to me. I don't know why. I mean,
Well, I mean, look, he's obviously a super fan. He's got a jersey that says the sixth man on it, and he's obviously been, part of the Sixers' premium seating situation for a long time. I got nothing against the guy, but it just seemed I saw some things online where people were just like, I think I might have had enough of the sixth man.
I think there was a clip where he went up to Harden to try and pump him up, and it really rubbed people the wrong way. I mean, he was getting killed on Twitter from the people I followed. I feel bad for the dude. He spends a shitload of money. He's a huge Sixers fan.
he's probably got a shitload of money too, though.
He goes to the away games,
but he's got to know. Like he doesn't have carte blanche to just walk up to players and rub on them and
maybe
tell
you
them,
do
tell
if
them
you're
how to-
tight
No,
with
you
the
don't.
ownership.
Dude, I think the whole super fan in general, the person who sits there every game and spends a lot of money on these
But
front row tickets
I know he
is
was
corny
he
in
hooked
general.
up with Angelo's last year for a pizza and donated a bunch of money to charity.
Oh, that's
he
good.
Seems like
That's
a
nice.
good
That's
dude.
nice.
And by the
little
way,
bit.
And listen, if I was an old basketball fan, and I mean, I wouldn't. I'd hate it if
I think
these
the super
young
fan in
kids
general is
were
just
picking on
annoying.
him.
Like
He loves the Sixers. He loves the ball.
And
In
you know
my
what? When I
opinion,
see
he's
him,
not- he's harmless.
when I'm watching a road game and he's like in the front row, like standing up, I'm like, six man, So hey,
Yeah, you need that
do need that.
representation, and I don't have the money or time to do it, so
I hear ya.
someone's got to.
I'm backing him. I want to
Wait, so
respond.
you're in on the six?
I just feel like he got unfairly criticized, so I want to get the six man's back here. I think.
I think the super fan in general is bad.
Yeah, in the grand scheme of things, I don't care. But let him be a fan. He's an old guy. I mean,
unless you're
he's harmless.
Unless you're like a well-known person, like these teams we got Meek, Toronto's got the Drake, and Houston's got Travis, and unless you're like a superstar like that.
No, I think the sixth man is more like the who's the guy in Toronto, the super fan.
Oh, the guy. I know what you're talking about.
So I think he's more like that. Like these guys are lifers.
They made a name for themselves.
He loves basketball. I can't hate on guys that love basketball.
So on that theme,
real hoopers, they're called.
On that theme,
that dude's never made a layup in his life.
He might have.
He can make a layup. Six man can make a layup.
I went after Tom Gola back in the day,
for sure. So on that theme, I was thinking about the process, right? Because I was wondering, and I've had this thought before: is there any other place in America where you could come up with like a social movement phenomenon based on like a rebuilding approach, and turn it into this thing where people are chanting and it's like a cult thing? And, I'm just like, can that happen anywhere but Philadelphia?
No, absolutely not.
No.
And the reason it worked so well here was because people in Philadelphia are huge basketball fans, and they were dying for good product. So they were willing to get it by any means necessary. And if it meant a guy like Sam Hinkie, who, no matter what you say about him, the guy was a great basketball mind. You see some of these secondary players he brought in, they're still in the NBA now getting good contracts, getting run. But most GMs don't have the luxury to just say, nobody cares if we win. I'll just pick out guys from random places and hope they stick.
You know what's funny to me? I think there's a parallel between the process and Gritty. Hear me out. I think
Gritty, the Flyers
yes,
mascot?
just hear me out.
Or the dance that Jamar Chase
I don't know. I don't know much
touchdown.
about the dance. I know the Flyers mascot.
I saw your kid doing the dance one day.
All right, well, good for him. Yeah. I don't know much about the dance. So I think part of what made the process work is that it triggered everybody else, right? Meaning, I can't believe your team is losing on purpose, and we embrace that, right? We were like, we are losing on purpose, and it's going to work.
Right.
And that's my question is, where are we now? Like, are we still in it?
You say
we got Embiid out of it, and I mean that's a win as it is. I like doing shit organically, and I think the way other teams become good, like the Memphis Grizzlies, and like that. But it's hard to do either way. So I didn't mind them trying it and giving it a chance.
Right.
But it's over with at this point.
It's over.
There's no more process.
Yeah.
There's no point in saying did it work or did it fail. I don't know.
I think to your point, you're talking about like the people hated the process and everyone was against us for doing it. I think the process died when the NBA itself was against it, and they brought Colangelo in to like pretty much stop the process.
But then look what the Thunder do. They don't even try. They shut guys like they had Horford last year, who is obviously still.
Oh, he had a ball game the other night.
Is still a good player, but they just shut him down just because they didn't feel like playing him anymore. And then every year they get new young guys, and then like Shai Gregorius-Alexander. He only played a handful of games this year. They don't even like to
but that's different from the process. You know what I mean? The process was like intentionally tanking to get the best player.
What is not even suiting up a guy who is potentially a 30-point-a-night?
True.
They didn't suit him up. They obviously didn't want to win.
Well,
I'm just saying.
You're letting it go.
It won't work anywhere else.
I mean, Joel Embiid is like the process. That's his nickname. So I don't know that it's ever going to die. But I don't know that we're on any sort of trajectory where the approach we've taken is going to yield the fruit that we were looking for. But on a similar note, we have Daryl Morey, who when he came here, by all accounts, was this amazing GM that had done so many good things. And the reason that he came to mind on this is just, I can't get out of my mind that image of the hug, the Harden hug. He was like, he hugged him like he was relieved, like it was over. You know what I mean? And maybe that was because it was like the Ben Simmons thing was over and he figured out a way to try to get us out of it.
I think it's because him and Harden are
right.
They're like this
but
anyway.
See, what I'm saying is that didn't age well. You know what I mean? Now we're in a position where it looked like he thought that was going to be everything, and it didn't turn out to be. And I just feel like he's really... he's going to have to work some real magic, and it didn't pan out for him. Going from the hug, best case scenario, Harden balls out, Sixers at least get past the second round, and everyone's like, all right, like there's something here. It didn't end that way. You know?
They had to do something with Ben Simmons, right?
Absolutely.
Like, say the Sixers traded Simmons and got – everyone's talking about Halliburton, right? How would you feel if he got Halliburton for Ben Simmons? You wouldn't feel that way, right? So in terms of Daryl Morey, he did what he had to do. He brought in what he thought would be the best player. It didn't happen to work out. You know, there's still some time left.
It didn't work out this year.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
It's hard to bring in a guy mid-season.
Yeah.
If you look in the history of the NBA, usually you don't get an all-star guy mid-season and win that year with him.
Right.
The dude's hurt. He's got hammies. He hasn't
My
had much of an
worry
off-season program
is
in 2 years.
Doc Rivers is the guy who's going to make this team now. Like I still don't think he's going to work with us.
Well,
and I think Daryl Morey wants D'Antoni bad,
boy.
but he's probably going to go to Charlotte now. It's looking like he's.
Well, to me, it was just the hug and the unique relationship. I'm just saying the unique
hug as a symbolic thing. It was just listen. He's getting off the plane.
I understand.
They're
I'm
best
making
friends.
I'm making too much of it. Making too much of it. But what I am saying is the unique relationship that he has with Harden.
He's going to sign them. He's not getting rid of them.
Well, and whatever happens moving forward based on that move, he's tied to it in a different way because he obviously wanted
It'll be
him.
his legacy, and he'll get fired because of it if it doesn't work out.
You guys are saying all this now, but he did what he had to do, I thought, in terms of bringing in a player to replace Ben Simmons of a high caliber. It didn't work out. Shit happens in NBA.
No, you're right.
I think he did what he had to do.
James Harden, comes in with this miraculous trade. Everybody had high hopes. I was pumped up. Everybody's pumped up. First couple games, amazing. I just thought, this is it. I remember Kendrick Perkins was calling these guys Kobe and Shaq, which we loved him for.
Yeah.
And then,
Carry the hell on.
Yeah, carry the hell on. And then shit kind of hit the fan there a little bit. And by the end of the year, you don't know what you have. And then playoffs, and it's just like, is this guy like fully washed, or like what do we have here?
I don't know if he's fully washed. He kind of reminds me of like the I'm not trying to relate myself to James Harden at all, but like you and I, we do a bunch of
we are definitely Harden-esque.
We do a bunch of extracurriculars. I don't know what you do, Mike, but we play basketball once a week, football on Sundays.
We are professional amateur athletes.
Yeah, we're 40-plus years old, right? Back when we were 18, 19, 20, we could run around all day. Nowadays, we go out and we play these games. We wake up
ball,
broken backs, twisted knees, all types of shit. And I'm like, you know what? I feel like I'm at this point, I'm just washed. And like, at what point do I just give this shit up? You know what I'm saying?
I hear you. It's actually funny. Anytime we play sports, the next day, Rock will send out a text message like, you guys feeling like me? And he sends out, I don't know if you've ever seen this GIF with the cat coming out of the hospital in the wheelchair.
Oh, the wheelchair
if you haven't
cat,
seen this GIF, like you need to look this up because
if you're 40-plus and you're still playing rec sports, you need to look this
If
GIF
you're
up.
hurting, this is the best GIF ever. But most people are usually like, nah, I'm okay, bro. I mean, look, let me say this. The number one reason that
That's exactly what I'm talking about. Most people will be like, oh, yeah, I'm okay, bro. But
they're not okay.
Dude, you're not okay.
Meech.
Listen, I love both of you guys, but shit. James Harden is still averaging like 20 points, 12 assists, and 6 rebounds in the NBA.
True.
Yeah, I hear you, but
This
like
has nothing to do with
No.
a couple guys who
No,
hit a couple.
There's a good analogy
can't hit
here.
jump shots
There's
and
levels.
then
There's
wake up
levels to
sore the next
everything. No,
morning.
there's
Wait,
levels to
Rock,
everything.
tell him how many layups I made in the last game. I must have made 11 layups. You know what I mean?
hear
Just
you.
like Larry layup,
Listen,
bam.
there's levels to everything. You know what I mean? So like there's the bums that are like us running around on the street
Right.
to the NBA, right? And at some point,
There's a lot of levels between, by the way. There's a lot of levels between.
Sure.
But I
at
think
some point you got to be like,
Okay, I was just asking.
Okay, but we can
I
agree.
just wanted to make sure.
Harden is not at the point where he needs to like give it up or anything. But let me say, when it comes to all
to
the
change his
when
game.
it comes to all the 40+ like amateur hoopers and football players, like the biggest issue for me is like when I tell my wife, like the older I get, when I say to my wife, yeah, we're gonna go play basketball this week, and
laughing
she's
at
just
your
looking
ass,
at me like,
walking
you
out the
kidding me?
house.
I want to see this game. And by the way, we had a game a couple weeks ago. We didn't score a point for like 30 minutes.
Nobody needs to know about
Nobody
that.
scored a
Nobody
point
needs to know
for
about
30
that.
minutes. And by the way, like to go and play sports is fine, but you come home with that like Achilles or like something, and then you can't go to work or you can't assist in the parenting of your children. There's a lot on the line when we go to hoop meets.
So
you got to
watching
understand
the
this.
Sixers game, and I'm watching James Harden. He's like trying to go left. He's trying to go right.
And you're like, that's me.
He can't get by anybody, and I'm like,
that's me.
I'm like, dude, he's just washed, and I just like related back to myself, and I'm like, I might be washed, and I might need to like chill out on this extra.
Like, was there a point where you didn't think you were washed? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what was that? Did you used to feel spry and you're like, I'm out there getting it?
Yeah, maybe about 15 years
Right,
ago.
exactly. Well, I think that's enough of us comparing ourselves to NBA players. But the struggle is real when it comes to sports on a day-to-day basis in our real lives as well. No doubt about that. So why don't we talk about people that things ended well for? Because there were some people, I think, that things ended well for. And we already talked about the first example is Tyrese Maxey, right, who, got the opportunity to play his butt off all year long. And, like, that might be the one thing that comes out of this season that is what we have. It's the silver lining.
His cheap contract is going to be what's going to allow the Sixers to contend for a few more years. And how good he is.
When I watched Maxey, right, I was like, this dude's a good player. He's like an all-star caliber player, but just watching him in the playoffs with the opportunity he had and the games that he had, I'm like, this dude may be like all-pro level player.
And that's what I was wondering, like, what is this guy's ceiling? Is he going to come out of this cheaper deal and be like a legitimate max player? I mean, it really.
If Tobias Harris is a max player, then he is.
I guess if that's the standard.
He outplayed him. Although Tobias was so consistent, but the reason that's who came out of the season looking good, Tobias did, which might allow us to trade this dude.
Well,
I mean, the how good he played might be a benefit to us in being able to get rid of him, to clear the money to have another max spot and maybe get like a Bradley Beal. Imagine if Beal was in place of Harris.
Right, and Tobias is on my list of people, because I'm very interested in the people who, like, everybody kind of shat on, and then they pulled themselves up by their bootstraps and were like, hey, I balled out.
Oh, yeah, Toby
in the playoffs, I mean, was as clutch, ice in his veins as when nobody else was. And I
wouldn't say he was clutch.
Right,
he was consistent and he was solid.
Yeah, he worked hard.
There's a tweet out there. I don't know who wrote the tweet, but I see it retweeted every once in a while. And it's like it says, if you need 17 to 18 points, Tobias Harris is going to get it for you. Mm-hmm. If you need 25 points, Tobias Harris is going to get you 17 or 18 points.
That's very well done.
Like that's just Tobias Harris.
But I just find it so interesting. Like, he just, when you needed a bucket, when you needed somebody to, to grab the ball and be strong with it, he did that.
He was definitely the most consistent player in the playoffs, and he stepped it up, man. He had like something to prove. You know what I mean? And I feel like he proved it, but. He didn't prove it to the point where he was earning his money, but
he still looks silly with all those cupping marks all over his back.
Like, you got to get cupped.
That was popular athlete in the Olympics like 8 years ago. Knock it off, man.
Knock it off.
Yeah, I think he stepped it up, but not to the to the level where he should be.
With him, I just don't understand how he goes through those stretches, and then how can you be that?
Because he's not that good.
Well, he's not that good, but he goes through stretches where he looks really good. I mean, how do you get the? I guess it goes back to the whole, Jimmy Butler saying Tobias Harris over me, and the
which
management.
Was nonsense.
Yeah, I
don't even want to get into that. Jimmy Butler makes up his own reality in his head, which is cool because that motivates him and that gets him going. And I wish he was still a Sixer, but I don't want to get into the.
I feel like Jimmy Butler's an asshole, to be honest with you.
I mean, that's probably right. Look,
he's an asshole.
He's a good asshole.
He's a calculated asshole.
But when you say
he started a fight with his goddamn coach 2 months ago. No. Now they're the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference.
I was just going to say that because I was like, what he did in starting the fight with his coach was exactly why the Sixers said they didn't want to have him. Right. And at that point, you were like, oh, and remember the Heat? They lost a couple games after that. And you were like, oh, they're done. Butler's nuts. And then here we go. Look where they're at. So another guy that is, I think, similar to Toby, who has taken a lot of heat and then did exactly what he kind of is supposed to do, is Danny Green. I mean, Danny Green pissed us off multiple times.
R.I.P. Danny Green's career.
Yeah, unfortunately.
I might pour one out for the homie.
An Embiid tree fell on him. But, there were many times where he said things and did things that pissed us off, right? He was like, he's a little too honest.
I can't talk trash on Danny Green. He is what he is. he's got championships. He's played on championship teams. That's his. He had games this postseason where he knocked down 6 threes.
Yeah,
I mean,
I think Danny Green did his job, man. I think he did his job. Yeah, he may have said it, a little bit too much throughout the season, but for the playoffs, he did his job. He had a bunch of big shots in the playoffs.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, that's that guy. That is his job, right? When you need big shots, hit big shots. Despite the fact that he looks like he just had, like, hip surgery and he can barely run, the dude hit shots. That's his job. And I feel like sometimes, throughout the whole course of the season, we were like, Danny Green. We got all worried about it. Then he just does his job in the playoffs. Now,
just goes to show you the NBA. There's a ton of guys in the NBA who are really good during the regular season.
Mm-hmm.
Then you get to the postseason, and they're borderline unplayable.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's totally different. Danny Green's one of those guys. Well, he might frustrate you during the course of the year because he doesn't really try all year.
Yeah, I was not a big fan.
When the playoffs come around, he's ready to play.
And you know what's interesting?
And I'd rather have those kind of guys on my team than guys who are all about the regular season and getting their
I
stats
totally
up.
agree, because like during the regular season, I was like, what the fuck is this guy doing for us?
Yeah.
And then playoff comes around, I'm like, oh, this is what this guy does
Right.
for us.
And it's funny because, George Niang, kind of conversely, during the regular season was always reliable, when he had a look. He was making big buckets all the time in the regular season. In the playoffs, he just didn't.
He made a couple
I thought
He made a
Harden was
couple
going to
buckets.
unlock that dude, but he couldn't pull through in the end.
He had a couple games when he hit a couple shots, but yeah,
Playoffs, he
he's
was garbage.
Yeah, for the most part. But he had he's that kind of player that when things are going well, he like jumps on board and starts hitting shots. You know what I mean? But if the team's playing shitty, then he'll also play shitty.
I don't know about that because I feel like during the playoffs, he actually hit some shots that helped us when stuff was starting to go south.
Yeah.
All right, fellas, we're going to try something a little different here. This is a little segment I cooked up in my head called Where You At? Where Ya At?
Manayunk, Kismet Studios.
Kismet Studios in Manayunk, reporting live. Where You At? The whole purpose of the segment is to determine how we all feel about what is going on with each of the 4 major sports teams, and then kind of try to figure out how that might be an indication of how the fan bases as a whole feel about
You lost me.
Philly sports. Is that tough? Damn it.
Pay attention, damn it.
You told me to keep this simple. Well, look.
No, I get it. I think we all get it.
All right. Well,
Where are we at?
As I do,
It's self-explanatory.
I've
Got ADD over there, dude.
As I do, I've come up with some really verbose categories. So bear with me on this, okay? Because when I think about the overall feeling of the fan base, I think there are levels that we've all experienced, right?
Got you.
And I'll start with the top, which is like the peak feeling that we've rarely ever felt, which is unimaginable satisfaction and pride. Okay, this is when
Yeah, you don't even. Nobody feels that way. Just go to the next one.
well,
I've never felt that way.
I have
Unimaginable satisfaction and pride.
I
I got-
got for like 10 minutes after the Eagles.
wait,
won the
I got
Super Bowl.
one for you. I call that the new norm vibe. That's when Dougie P was in front of the art museum saying, "This is the new norm," and you're like, "Hell yeah, Dynasty!"
I never felt that way, even
No
when he
one's
said
ever
that.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. That's
Next.
very Philly that you never believed it.
Next.
Didn't come to fruition anyway. All right, next. Number 2 is uncommon confidence. Now, uncommon confidence is like 2017 Eagles when Carson Wentz, right before he got hurt, you're like, damn, we are blowing everybody's doors off. Or 2004 Eagles with T.O. and we were just kicking everyone's ass. And you're just
That
like,
seems like common confidence.
no, it's uncommon
Uncommon.
for us. It's not common for us to have that confidence. So it's
Not
like
at all.
It's the moments when your team is so good that you're like, oh shit, like I think we're going to win the championship. Like when Harden was here the first couple games, and I was like, oh shit, we might just win the championship. Saw how that worked out. Okay. Number 3. This is one that we might just be locked in on most of the time. Cautious optimism. Okay, and for this one, I have Sixers pre-Jimmy Butler, right? When like Simmons, Embiid,
Sixers pre-Jimmy Butler?
yeah, I mean like mid-process, like we got all these young guys, we're building something. I think this is going to turn out to be pretty good. We got a couple number 1, top picks. I think we're heading right.
And what would be if you got Jimmy Butler after you're feeling? What was that? What was
Then
that
you
called?
might get to uncommon confidence.
Okay.
Right, you
I'm
might.
with you, I'm with
right.
you, I'm with
Like
you.
it's like when you get Jimmy Butler and you get Harden right after it happens.
Yeah.
Then you have uncommon confidence,
Gotcha.
and then it's shattered. Okay. So after that, we have the 4th level: growing cynicism and doubt. This is very common for us as Philadelphia sports fans, and this was me at the end of the Sixers regular season, right? The growing cynicism and doubt just kept creeping in. It's like you can't avoid this. This is always there.
Gotcha.
Does that make sense to you, Meech?
Yep. Right. Yeah, I'm just wondering how many levels are there?
I got like
Seriously.
40. I got like 40. No, we're getting there. I got 2 more.
Because you could also
got
just
2
say,
more.
like, rate your confidence on a scale of 1 to 5.
Okay,
It would be
so
the
rate
same.
your confidence on a level of 1 to 6.
I was just wondering
Hold on.
how
1 to
many
6.
levels there were.
There are 6, and then the 5th level.
Good question.
Don't undermine my elaborate plan. Okay, on the 5th level we have deep depression. Okay, deep depression. I think that's probably like Flyers. I mean, even though like a show bad, you don't even
bail
care.
on a team before you get to deep depression.
I'm out.
You bail.
see ya.
Well, then maybe my 6th category isn't necessary, but I think this is one that does
What's
happen.
below deep depression? I can't
Wait, listen to this. You're
Don't
gonna
pay
love
attention
this.
at all.
You're gonna love this. Irreparable misery and despair.
Wow, that's like suicide.
Is that like when you're like watching the game, like these motherfuckers are gonna lose again? And
Nah,
I don't know
dude.
why I'm watching.
You know what it is? It's those gut-wrenching moments where you're just like, oh my God, everything's the worst. You know,
All
losing
right,
the
so in
NFC.
my head, I have it a rank 1 to 5 confidence level.
Yeah, but there's 6. Let's just make sure that we have it
I
right.
know there's 6.
Do you have it right?
but
There's
how
6.
do you expect
All right.
Okay,
everyone to
okay.
remember
So,
this?
So let's go with this. Go ahead.
so here's what we do
Got a
though.
pen and paper out there?
Yeah, if you're
Comment,
following
like, and
along with this,
subscribe.
if you're following along, I want you to identify which of the 6 levels of emotional experience you have on any of the City Pigeons social media platforms. Okay, but the point of the exercise is to identify where we think people are generally
I got
there
it, I got it.
by
I'm just
saying.
busting your balls. I got it.
Well, thank you. You appreciate
I think
the
I got
approach.
it, but
All right,
we'll
just
see.
This part's
got it,
listen.
dude.
Yeah.
This part's
I've been
easier.
working all day.
This
My
part's
brain's a
easier.
little fried.
Ready? We're just gonna go team by team, and you're gonna say feeling them or fading them.
Okay.
Feeling them. Things aren't so bad.
So you just
You're gonna question me on this too?
No, I'm not questioning. You just explained 6 different levels for you to wipe them out and just say, okay, are you feeling them or fading them?
Yes, because the whole idea is
You're
that
feeling them on the 3rd degree.
then why
No,
would you
no.
do
Fading them on the
1,
2nd degree.
no, you're
I got
missing it.
Five.
No, you're missing it.
5 being
No.
confident,
We're
1, 0 being no confidence.
You know, I really
And then
thought you'd be easier to work with. Look, here's the deal.
Come on,
You're going to
difficult.
say whether you're feeling or fading them, and then at the end, we're going to collectively say, you know, I think the fan base is at 4.5, which is irreparable. Anyway, we'll get to it.
All right,
So
good.
let's just
What we
do the feeling or fan, make it nice and easy. So let's start with the Flyers, 'cause I think that's pretty
Sounds
easy.
exhausting.
Let's just start with the Flyers, okay? Fading
0,
them.
fading them. Get
Fade.
out of here.
Fade.
Move to another
Fade.
city. Who cares
Fade.
about you?
Oh, I just had like my buddies from college
Next.
on a text chain, and they're from New York, and they're talking about how good the Rangers are, and the Rangers are going to be
Rangers
good
good?
forever.
Yeah, they just beat the Penguins.
You know where I go
Ugh.
with the Flyers. Is Simmons still balling on the team or not?
If Wayne Simmons isn't playing for the Flyers anymore, Rodg is out. So
I'm out.
we don't know when the next Wayne Simmons will come, and that's when you'll come back in.
Probably.
All right, so we will alert you when that happens.
Unless they suck. Then
Okay.
I'm just completely out.
All right, so let's go to the Phillies. Let me say this: great. I mean, this weekend was amazing. I didn't see a minute of it because
Not one
I didn't see a minute of it because it
all
was
highlights.
it was late. There was one game that went on until 2 in the morning
I
over
was
here.
glued to every game.
You were glued. You were glued. My
That's
ass.
a
You were
lot.
glued. You were glued to nothing. Yeah. Look, I'm sorry. The West Coast stuff when I was young, it was really cool, but right now I'm having trouble with it. But look, 3 out of 4 against the Dodgers. That is what's up.
This
Let's go.
West Coast weather is a thing to come. Once
Are the
once
Dodgers
summer
nice
comes
like
around-
that?
Yeah, the Dodgers were World Series
Always good.
Favorites.
Always good.
Okay.
Once this, and they were 1 strike away from 4 games sweeping them.
Which is so
They
Phillies.
lost the last game with 2 strikes.
They got that pitcher,
in the
right?
bottom of the
Kershaw?
ninth.
Is that the
Nice,
Dodgers?
Rock. Nice.
Yeah, look at
Kershaw.
me. Look at me.
Hey.
Look at me. Look
Good
at me.
job, buddy. Good job. But I think but what's interesting about the Phillies, right? You want to be like feeling them because they had this great road
But
trip.
I'm into them. I'm
You're
ready.
feeling it.
Once I see how they hit in warm weather, and
Oh, I see. It's a weather thing.
It's right. It's summertime. They're just gonna fucking.
If Meech is in,
Bomb.
I'm in. 'Cause I
There
don't
you
know
go.
shit about
That's a good call. I got to tell you this. I want to say I'm feeling them, and I am because I want baseball to be exciting and relevant, but I am scared because every year for the past however many years, they've had these moments, and then inevitably they stay right around 500. They frustrate you. They win 4 games. They lose 4 games. But I'm going to feel them. Let's go.
Yeah, I will
I'm going to
say that.
feel them.
Whoa.
I'm
I
gonna
will
feel
say
'em.
that since the Sixers are done, I'm gonna make a conscious effort to watch the Phillies.
Okay, let's see how that
And
goes.
the last time I did try to do that, I may have fallen asleep with a beer in my lap, and
Right.
it spilled on me, and I woke up. But
hey, it's not easy, but we appreciate you making
It's
a
tough,
conscious
it's
effort.
tough, it's tough.
And
Thanks for trying.
yeah, you report back after you do a little diligence on
dude, the
baseball.
first game I tried to watch, and they were winning, and
I hear
the
it.
shit goes to shit, and
When the shit goes to shit, there's only so much you can do.
exactly.
You know?
All right, what we got next?
All right, so well, I mean, look, there's only 2 teams left. Let's
We're
go.
not fucking with the Union.
Well, I don't know enough. I did see that they had a tie. I actually watched some of the Union game. They had a tie, but anyway, let's go to the Sixers. Obviously, talked a lot about that. I think this is where we kind of project forward. You want to say that you're fading them based on what just happened, but the question is, have they put themselves in a position where the things are pointing up enough that they can do something moving forward? I have concerns, man. I'm going to have to fade them because I just. There's too many things they have to do. Embiid is hurt every time we get into the playoffs. It's just I
don't want to think about them for a while.
Are you going to
with the
pass?
Sixers for a little
You can
while.
pass.
I don't even really care about the draft. Do they even have a first-round pick?
I have no idea.
I don't know.
I think we have a chance of getting one if
Well, after you get
someone we trade it with.
after you get Maxey, where you got him,
I don't care right now. Just
You're-
leave me alone. For
all right.
A while.
Fair
Hopefully
enough.
we fire Doc in the next.
That sounds like a fade.
I'm also going to fade the Sixers. They're coming back pretty much next year with the same exact team. Same
Well,
exact
I
coach.
doubt that, but
I mean, not the same, but the
Same
main
approach?
parts are there.
Okay.
Unless they can somehow move Toby, which probably ain't
go
gonna
to
happen.
the important one.
Yeah.
the important, yes,
Everybody.
the Eagles. Listen,
Everybody's
this
feeling
is
the
classic Eagles. We are feeling the Eagles because Howie Roseman just went and did some
Confidence
crazy
5 of
stuff.
5.
But look, I'll tell you.
Crazy. Traded
No.
18th round pick for the 18th pick in a third rounder for.
Listen, I mean crazy good. And here's what I'm saying about Howie. His draft record, has he drafted the best guys every time? No, there's been some misses. But you got to say, this guy has the ability to leverage the assets that he has to create additional opportunities in a way that I'm just not sure other GMs can do. So I think you got to give Howie some respect. I'm feeling the Eagles. A.J. Brown and frickin' Devontae Smith on the other side, with the line. That's the thing, the line. We got our line coming back. These guys are as good as there is in the league. It is going to come down to Jalen Hurts. But at the end of the day, man, I think the Eagles are going to be good as hell, and I'm fired up. And now we just got to sit through training camp and preseason and
All right, well,
the next
I'll sit through
fucking.
that. That's the part
I'll
I
play
love.
You like
Love
that?
Watching the
You're a
clips
sicko.
of A.J. Brown's first catch. Oh man, I
I'll
can't
play
wait for
devil's
this shit.
advocate here and say I'll fade him because people are just too high on him. Too high on him. Yeah, we got A.J. Brown. We got what's the linebacker's
Boo this man.
name? Boo this man. But it's
Nakobe Dean.
Nakobe Dean. Yeah, the Eagles always just seem to. No, don't touch that. It's
My bad.
The Eagles just always seem to just underperform, underachieve every year, and it's just like, yeah.
Hold on, stop.
Every year?
Stop. I need to stop you from talking. Did they make the playoffs with a rookie head coach last year?
And a second-year quarterback.
I'm always looking at it from the standpoint of I want to win the fucking Super Bowl again. I want that new normal.
So every team underachieves doesn't win the Super Bowl.
Yeah. So you guys are super hyped. You guys are.
I
Like,
am
Won the
hyped.
Super Bowl 5 years ago. That wasn't.
We were talking about this
20
before,
years
and you were
ago.
talking about
You
Jalen
just
Hurts
said
for
every
MVP.
year they disappoint. 5 years ago.
All right,
they won a
all right.
goddamn Super Bowl.
I might have been speaking a little bit, but you were talking about this beforehand. You were talking about Jalen Hurts for MVP. Come on now.
Well, he was
Really?
just saying it's
I
not.
was just saying that
it's not a bad bet.
Is
If
like,
you think
been
Jalen
talked
Hurts
about.
is going to be MVP, you are.
Oh man, I want
smoking
nothing
rocks with
more.
the dudes
I want
because-
nothing more than for that to come to fruition, so we can pull the tape on that comment right there. I'm not saying he's the best
I'm
quarterback
not
around,
fading
but
the Eagles. I'm just going to play devil's advocate here and just fade him a little bit because people are just way too high on him. I think every team makes moves in the offseason that makes their team better. We made a couple of moves. We got A.J. Brown. We got the fucking linebacker that we needed. We'll see what happens. I can't get too hype on these.
it sounds to me like
I love
you're.
the Eagles.
You know, it's funny. I feel like you're afraid to get hurt. Like that's
I am a little
that's
bit.
what it sounds like to me because
Football's my favorite
You're-
sport. I love
you're-
the Eagles. They're my favorite team.
I know, but
and I always get my hopes up, and I'm just like
your
I'd always
argument
let them-
doesn't. I don't. There's like your reasoning doesn't really make a lot of sense to me, and I think you're just like you're being the contrarian,
I'm
where
the
it's like,
learned pessimist,
oh,
as we
everybody,
discussed last-
everybody, you are the learned pessimist. Everybody is like so hype on this. I'm gonna like hold back just in case they don't make it, so I can be like, I told you, like you shouldn't have got that hype.
But you know,
I'm
as soon
all
as
in.
season-
Let's
as
go.
As soon as the season pops off, I'm gonna be like, let's fucking go.
Yeah, for real. You're gonna be like, what is it now?
I'm gonna be like Hurst for MVP. Let's fucking go.
16-1.
You can pull this tape back in like week 7 when they're.
I'm like, yo, did you see AJ Brown in practice the other day? That dude looks
seriously.
amazing.
Meech, he's gonna see like 3 catches of AJ Brown and like without pads on and be like, I am in Eagles.
I'm like,
so,
yo, where can I get one of those? AJ
let us
Brown?
remember that because that's going to be a couple months from now. Can we all make a note to go back and look at this and we're going to compare his vibe because I think he's full of shit right now, to be honest with you. But so look, that's easy, right? It's easy for you guys to say like, oh, I'm feeling him, I'm fading him. That's easy. But now we got to decide as a whole, based on all that, where do we think we feel as a community about Philadelphia sports within my 6 levels?
Too complicated.
Come on, dude.
All the sports,
All of them.
Philadelphia
All of
fans
them.
in general, they're gonna be negative right now.
Where you
Sixers
at?
Got fucking beat, man.
Okay, so you're saying
the
deep
Sixers-
depression? Are we
Hell
down there?
yeah.
Hell
Might be-
yeah.
What's that last level that you talked about?
Irreparable misery and
I think that was
despair?
Yeah, let's go with
Hell,
that one.
purgatory.
Hell. Okay, so then what you're saying, which makes some sense, is whatever happened the most recently kind of.
That's pretty much how it feels.
Right, but see, what we're talking about now is we're bummed that what happened with Sixers, but like the Phillies are starting to look good. We got the Eagles around the corner. So what I'm saying is there's a balance there.
That does play into it a little
saying.
bit. It's like, all right, the Sixers just
You
lost.
just don't want to think about this analytically, Mike. I'm sorry.
The Sixers just lost, right? Terrible. That was a terrible loss. And then what do you got? What do you got to look forward to? You got
Phillies. And Mike loves training camp videos of football.
The Sixers loss isn't as terrible as you try and make it out to see.
Yeah, Embiid was hurt. Harden's washed. Anyway, look, we tried. Meech.
Wait,
Suns' loss was terrible.
That was terrible.
Oh, that was fucking. If I was a Suns fan, I'd be.
I mean, we lost a game 7 at home. That was just absurd.
they had their
If we
full
lost by
roster,
40
dude.
points at
Devin
home.
Booker didn't have an orbital bone issue.
No.
Yo, can you imagine if you lost a game 7 at home by 40 points, Sixers?
personally?
No, in the stadium
I
in
would
Philly.
personally would.
That would have been awful. We would have ripped the building apart.
terrible.
Yeah, there he is, man.
That would have been awful.
Number one fan.
But we got a fan outside? Guys, we got
yeah.
fans. We've only been doing this for a short period of time. We got fans showing up live. This is
Well, we are on
amazing.
Main Street in Manayunk.
This is amazing.
Beautiful Kismet
All right, well, look,
Studios.
here's what I'm going to have to do. I'm going to have to go back and revamp this because apparently there's too many levels for Meech and it's too complicated. So I'm going to make it a lot
You
easier
don't have
for
to
you.
revamp it. I'm just going to mentally note a 1 through 5 rating.
No.
Where do
and
you think they?
forget
No.
Wait, what's your ranking?
It's just how
on
I
this?
have to.
Okay, on 1 to 5, where do you think we are? We're probably a 4. We're still pissed off, but we're feeling a bit optimistic. Well, I appreciate you guys indulging me. I like to make things as complex and intricate as possible, and you're just going to have to get used to that.
And
Sorry.
I have to simplify it just to get it through my dumb
Right.
brain.
It's like, is it weird? Knock it off. You know what I mean? That's the way we work.
I'm a
You
little
tell me to
confused. Are
knock it
people,
off.
Like that hype on the Phillies right now?
We're feeling hype. They did really well. It's
right.
coming around. We're hoping it's going to be
I'm
a
in.
good summer. And listen, you
in.
guys can stick
When's
with
this-
us.
Are they playing tonight?
You can stick with us all summer long. All right, because we're going to be
Because I'm gonna watch.
putting out more episodes talking about all this stuff, and you can hit us up on any of the social platforms. If you like what you're hearing, please check out our YouTube channel. I check every day to see how many people are on there, so you just hit that thing, and it's going to help our self-esteem. Thank you so much.
Like, comment,
Like,
share,
subscribe,
do
comment,
Do all that.
repost. Thank you so much. City Pigeons out.